Hello and welcome back to my channel, Suspicious Minds. My name is Nee-Nee, and on here I talk about true crime cases, whether it's solved or unsolved. I talk about disappearances and then just generally creepy stuff. So if that is something that you are interested in, please consider clicking on the subscribe button. It's completely free. It's not going to cost you anything. You can also select your notifications so that you are notified when I upload a new video. The case that I'm going to look at today took place in South Africa in the 1970s, but it's even until today a very infamous case due to the intricacies of the case. We have four main characters, and how all of this plays out is like a very tragic love story. We have the prominent and well-known medical doctor, his underage lover, his wife that waits at home for him, and an unwitting character that walks into this ticking time bomb and have this bomb explode. The case I'm referring to is, of course, the case that the media dubbed the scissor murders and the case of Marlene Lehnberg. The year is 1974. In January of that year, the book Jaws by Peter Benchley was released, and that is the same book that gave birth to the franchise of movies Jaws. And I'm sure we all have a memory of watching that over December holiday and being scared to go into the ocean. In February of 1974, Patty Hearst, the grandchild of William Hearst, a billionaire publisher, was kidnapped from her Berkeley, California dorm room by the Symbionese Liberation Army. Their initial request for ransom was that the Hearst family have to provide food to all the homeless people in California. The Hearst family actually had to get a loan for $2 million to get that amount of food to the homeless people, which they did. They fed all the homeless people, but this Liberation Army did not release Patty. It was a few months later that the family was devastated when they saw CCTV footage of Patty taking part in a bank robbery with this army. Now, it's a very interesting case. While she was being held captive, she changed her name, she called herself Tanya, and she started believing in the goals and orientation of this terrorist group. She was rescued after 19 months, and it took a little while before she started letting go of all these beliefs that she now had. There was a lot of speculation whether she was really brainwashed or not, but a very interesting case. Do yourself a favor and read up about the Patty Hearst kidnapping and all the crimes that she actually took part in. On the music front, in 1974, Roberta Flack won the Grammy for Killing Me Softly, a beautiful song that was actually redone many times after, and ABBA won the Eurovision competition with their song Waterloo. What also happened in 1974 in the beautiful suburb of Bellville in the Western Cape, the home phone of Dr. Christiaan van der Linde and his wife Susanna Magdalena van der Linde was ringing. Now remember, those days there were no cell phones, there were only landlines or home phones. It was called home phones because you didn't have a phone anywhere else except at work. Now before I continue, I just have to say that the ages that I'm mentioning, the sources that I checked differed on the ages, but Susanna was 46 at the time of this call in 1974, and it is said that Christiaan was either 47 or 48 years old. Nevertheless, Susanna went to pick up the phone. It was during the day. She was a homemaker. We would call it in South Africa a housewife. And Susanna had 2 children. It wasn't toddlers or primary school age. Anyway, she went to pick up the phone. And on the other side of this phone was a voice of a very young girl. She said to her that she is Marlene and she works with Susanna's husband. Now, up until this part of the conversation, the only thing that was striking to Susanna was that Marlene's voice was very shaky. She could hear that this child was trying to say something or that she was very nervous. Marlene went on to explain that she had been having a sexual relationship with Dr. Christiaan for the past year, and that she and Dr. Christiaan wants to get married. So the sooner that Susanna divorces Christiaan, the sooner Marlene and Christiaan can continue with their lives. Susanna did what I think any mature and experienced woman of her age would do. She just put the receiver of the phone down. She obviously told her husband about this conversation, but on the other side of the phone, Marlene Lehnberg, a 17-year-old girl, was furious because nobody puts the phone down in Marlene's ears. And Marlene went on calling the home of Susanna for months on end, with Susanna just picking up the phone and putting it down without even talking to her. I think Susanna's patience eventually wore off. However, in October of 1974, this 17-year-old child and the 47-year-old mother went to a coffee shop where they met each other. Now, Marlene was convinced that she can convince Susanna to leave her husband of 20-odd years so that she can live happily ever after. Now, to me, this is typically the way of what a teenager or a child would think, and I'm not sure in what universe this child thought that this is going to happen. In the meeting, what took place was Marlene again proclaimed her undying love for Susanna's husband, and she told Susanna that they have been having a sexual relationship for the past year, meaning that it started already when Marlene was 16 years old. Keep in mind, Dr. Christiaan, who we will learn more about later, was 47, 48 years old, and he, according to Marlene, had a sexual relationship with her. After telling her whole story to Susanna, it is said that Susanna basically said to Marlene, you know what, this is not my first rodeo. You are not his first relationship out of our marriage. And I am quite content and happy to be the other woman. But just remember, when he comes home every night, you are the third person. And if you are willing to live with that, I am willing to continue living the way I am. And it was a mic drop moment when Susanna walked out of the coffee shop. If we thought Marlene was furious when the phone was dropped in her ear, this pushed her completely off the edge. How did it get to a teenager trying to confront a mother of 46, 47 years old? It started 2 years earlier, in February 1972, and this is where I said the ages are a bit skewed, because they say that in 1972 Marlene was 16 years old and she started working at the Red Cross Children's Hospital in Rondebosch in Cape Town. Now, it's very strange to me that a 16-year-old started working, but maybe it was different those days. And she started working as a receptionist in the orthopedic department. It was at this hospital that Marlene laid her eyes on Dr. Christiaan van der Linde. He was one of the top doctors at the Red Cross Hospital, and he was a real ladies' man. It was said that it was a well-known secret that Dr. Christiaan loved the younger women. And when Marlene started working there, look, she was drop-dead gorgeous, she was a bombshell, she was beautiful, and when he laid eyes on her, he took her under his wing. It is said that in the beginning, the two of them had a father-daughter relationship, according to them, and they had lunch together. They would go to the nearest park, sit and eat their lunch, and just talk about all the things in life. And Marlene said it was slowly but surely that she started falling in love with Dr. Christiaan van der Linde. And she said that one day he just said to her, what a beautiful day it is outside. And she could feel that her legs went numb. And that is when she knew, I am in love with this man. It was testified in court that in April of 1973, that is when their relationship became sexual, and where instead of having lunch in the park, they would slip away lunchtime and go to the nearest hotel and have their romantic rendezvous. Now, again, it was an open secret that the two of them were having an affair. And to me, it's quite shocking. This was just nothing. It wasn't strange that a 46, 47-year-old man had a sexual relationship with a 16-year-old child. I think that is very strange. Marlene would go to say they talked about life. He was this well-educated person, and she wanted to be with him. She was convinced that this is the person she wanted to be with. In early 1974, this part is my opinion. There's no facts or no testimony about that. But I wonder if this didn't have to do with the call that Marlene made to the house. But in early 1974, Dr. Christiaan said to Marlene that no, we are not going to have our sexual relationship anymore. Somebody is watching me. I can feel that people are following me. And I think that my wife knows about us. And Marlene was very angry at Christiaan about this. It is also very important to note that Marlene and Christiaan both testified that throughout the sexual relationship, Christiaan told Marlene that he will never leave his wife. So I think she had in mind, if the wife leaves him, then he would be free to marry her. Remember the character I said that walks in and actually is the trigger for this whole thing to explode? Well, that was a man by the name of Martinus Chuchu. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the surname correctly. He came to the Rondebosch Red Cross Clinic because he had an amputated leg and he wanted an artificial limb. Who helps this man register himself and opens a file for him? None other than our beautiful bombshell Marlene Lehnberg. Marlene treats Martin with dignity. She's friendly, she's helpful, she's considerate, and he gets along very well with her. He has a few visits to the hospital. He sees Marlene every time because she has to get the file, and they become friendly with one another. I don't know when exactly Marlene got the idea, but somewhere in her mind she saw Martinez as easy prey to be able to manipulate him to do something for her that she did not want to do herself. So what she did is that she had access to his file, to all of his information, and she wrote a letter to Martinez because she didn't know when he was coming in. Keeping in mind, in those days it was very difficult to communicate with people. You didn't have WhatsApp, you didn't have SMS. It wasn't as easy as just sending a message and say, meet me there. So Marlene wrote a letter to Martinez in 1974. He didn't even have a post box at his home. She sent it to the nearest retail store, which was called Solly's Trading, and asked them to give this letter to Martinez when he visits the shop. And in the letter, she asked him to please come and visit her at the hospital because she has got an amazing opportunity for him. And if he is clever enough, he would be able to make a lot of money. Keeping in mind he was unemployed, he wanted a better life for himself. Who is not going to jump for this opportunity of a job that you can make a lot of money? Well, Martinez jumped and he arrived at the hospital. When he arrived, it wasn't the friendly, approachable Marlene. It was a secretive Marlene who gave Martinez R1, which in today's money would be worth 67 Rand. It would be $3.50. And she asked him to meet her at the Rondebosch City Hall at 7 p.m. that evening. In those days, and I have to mention that it was apartheid, but in apartheid it would be very, very dangerous for a colored person or a black person to meet with a white person after hours because there were curfew times in place. But Martinez trusted Marlene and he waited for her at the Rondebosch town hall. Came 7 o'clock at night. Marlene arrived at the town hall with Martinez waiting for her. She gave him a bottle of gin. He asked her what this is for and she said it's just a gift. So he started drinking the gin. While he was drinking the gin, he asked her, what was the job that you want to discuss with me? And Marlene said to him, I want you to kill a woman for me. In my mind, I can see how Martinez probably choked a little bit on the gin, but he declined. First of all, he said, you are looking at the wrong person here. I am not a killer. I'm not a criminal. I'm not going to kill someone because I do not want to get the death penalty. Marlene begged him, and I don't know if it was the gin talking, but eventually Martin said, I will do it for you. And Marlene had a ready prepared note with her which she handed to Martinez, and she said to him, this is the address of the person I want you to kill, and that was the address of the Belleville house of Dr. Christiaan and Susanna van der Linde. The morning after the meeting at the town hall, Martinez mulled over what he was going to do. He thought that there's no way that he's going to kill someone, and one of his options was to actually go to the police and tell them that Mrs. van der Linde's life was in danger. He decided against that because he didn't want to get Marlene into trouble, and then he testified that he would rather go to her house, to Mrs. van der Linde's house, and warn her himself, which he did. He went to the address, he knocked on the door, and when Susanna opened the door, he just could not get the words out. What he could get was, he asked her for money. She said that she didn't have any money and she closed the door. So he just went back home and sat at home and was thinking about this job that he was given to do. In the meantime, Marlene was waiting with bated breath of the news of her lover's wife's murder, which did not happen. Marlene then realized that this murder did not take place. To me, what looks like she was building up an alibi, because she went to Christiaan and she said to him, if you don't want to leave your wife, I am moving back to Johannesburg. You cannot have me and your wife together. I'm not going to be one of the other girls that I've heard about. And I am leaving for Johannesburg because my family is there and you don't want to leave your wife. Christiaan again made it clear that he's not going to leave his wife, and Marlene knew that she had to get this done sooner than later. Somehow she summoned Martinez again to meet with her, and this time she pulled out all the stops. She said to him that if he kills Susanna van der Linde, she will buy him a portable radio, and she will make sure that he gets the best artificial limb the hospital can offer. He must have wanted that limb and radio really bad, because he said, this time I will do it. He said, I'm scared, but I am going to do it. I'm not sure at which instances, but Marlene gave him a hammer to take with him because she wanted him to kill Susana with the hammer. There goes Martinez to the Belleville house with the hammer in hand, but this time, instead of going inside, instead of going up to the door, knocking on the door, he just walks past the house. He says to himself, I am not a murderer, not knowing that on the inside of the house, Susanna saw him. And she realized this is the same man that came up to my door a few weeks ago and asked for money. That night, Susanna told Christiaan that I am very concerned because I saw this man. She described him as a limping colored man, and Christiaan bought his wife a dye pistol. Now, a dye pistol, I don't know what it was before I researched the case, is usually used in civil unrest when the police would shoot out dye. It can't get removed, so it's something that shows that you were involved with this. So Christiaan bought Susanna a dye pistol. And Susanna was now very aware that somebody is watching her and somebody is being very suspicious outside of her house. Marlene, definitely not the criminal mastermind that she thought she was, again did not receive the news of a murder taking place, and she must have been fed up by now. She again summons Martinez. They don't say if she wrote a letter to him again, but it must have been the only way that she could get a hold of him. As payment, we have 1 rand, or 67 rand in today's money, a portable radio, an artificial limb. But what she told him now, if you do this for me, Martinez, I will buy you a car and I will have sex with you. And this time she gave him a knife. There were speculation and reporting of a knife and a hammer. I'm not sure at which instances she gave what, but she gave him a knife. As far as I understand, in this instance when she promised him the car and sex. We are now in October of 1974, and Marlene gave in her resignation at the hospital, and she told Dr. Christiaan that she's definitely leaving for Johannesburg. Her family is expecting her. She gave up her notice where she's staying, and it's over between them. She doesn't want him anymore. She's going on with her life. On the 24th of October 1974, Marlene goes to the neighborhood where Martinez lives. She goes to his house, and he lived in a neighborhood called Retreat. This was a colored neighborhood, and again, I do mention that because it is significant because of the bold moves she made to have this murder committed. It would have been very strange to see a young white child in a colored neighborhood. So in this instance, she picked up Martinez from his home and drove him to the Belleville neighborhood close to Christiaan and Susanna's house. She dropped him a few blocks from the home, and a few houses from the Van der Linde home, the police picked him up. Again, Susanna saw him through the window and she called the police. The police picked him up, they beat him up, and they put him in jail for a few days. So Marlene, she just drove off, so she never saw the police picking him up. Marlene was furious again, not knowing that this is what happened to Martinez. Martinez kept quiet. He didn't say that Marlene did this, that, and the other, and she dropped me off. So he kept quiet. He stayed in jail for a few days, and Marlene then decided that I have to do this job on my own. So she went to a friend, and remember, she is leaving very soon. She wanted to leave Cape Town for Johannesburg, and she had a deadline for herself when this job had to be done. And she had a friend who was studying engineering, and his name was Rob Newman. He was 24 years old, and she asked him if he owned a firearm. He said to her, yes, he did, and she asked him if he would kill someone for her. He immediately said, are you crazy? There's no way he would kill someone. She asked him if she could borrow the firearm. Again, I don't know how she thought people would not report this, but he refused to borrow his firearm to her. But a few days later, he realized that his llama pistol was gone. And he went to the police station to report the pistol missing, and also in his affidavit mentioned that Marlene Lehnberg is the possible thief of this firearm. The 4th of November 1974 started with Marlene packing her car with all her belongings, and she wanted to head to Gauteng. In those days it was still called the Northern Transvaal or Transvaal, and she actually first had a stop at the home of Martinez in the neighborhood of Retreat, and she arrived there at 8:30 that morning. This is Martinez's claim, that she said to him, get in the car, we are going to the Van der Linde's home. He also said that by now he thought that she had decided not to go through with the plan, but close to the home, she actually handed him a llama pistol. Now remember, this is the one that she stole from Rob Newman. So Martinez said that when he saw this firearm, it was the first time when he thought that this is serious. This time she's really going through with it. They parked in front of the Belleville home of Christiaan and Susanna, and from here on their stories differ. Marlene said that they walked up to the door, she rang the doorbell, and Susanna opened the door. Marlene said that Martinez went into the home and she went back to the car, waited for him in the car, and a few minutes later he returned to the car. Not saying anything, she left Belleville and dropped him at Retreat and went home. Now, this is not what Martinez had said what happened, and Martinez's story is backed up by a neighbor who went for a walk. When she walked up the street, saw the two people getting out of the car, going into the house, and when she came down the street back from her walk, she saw two people driving away in a car. Now, this is what Martinez said happened, and it is quite graphic. I'm going to try not to be too graphic, but it's very horrible what they did to this poor woman, an innocent woman who just wanted to protect her family in terms of staying married, and a young, spoiled little girl who wanted to have her way. Now, let's hear what Martinez's side of the story was. Martinez said they both got out of the car and walked to the door. Marlene rang the doorbell. Susana opened the door, and he said when Susana saw the both of them, keeping in mind Susana saw Marlene the last time in the coffee shop, and now she's seeing this man that was lurking around her neighborhood next to her, and the fear that she must have felt. Martinez said that she immediately recognized them and wanted to push the door closed, but Marlene put her foot in front of the door so that it cannot close, and that is when Susana started running. He says that the moment they went into the house, Marlene closed the door. She took the lead, and she actually tripped Susana so that Susana fell down and she couldn't get away from them. Marlene grabbed the pistol from Martinez's hand, and she beat Susana in the face with the pistol until she was semi-conscious. Marlene then said to Martinez to choke Susana, which he did. He's not sure if he choked her until she was dead. When they walked into the house, there was what our parents called a sideboard, and on this, it's like a cupboard, were sewing scissors. Now, those of you who knows what sewing scissors look like, sewing scissors are massive. It's heavy, it's a deadly weapon, and Marlene took the sewing scissors off the sideboard. And as Martinez now finished choking Susana, she handed him the scissors and she said to him, "Stab her." But by this time now she was on her stomach on the floor, face down, and he stabbed her. Now, Martinez said that he thinks he stabbed her 3 times, but it was determined that she was stabbed 6 times, and 2 of them were fatal stab wounds in her neck. Marlene also checked to make sure that Susana was in fact dead, and Martinez was on the one side of the body, and Marlene saw the dye pistol lying there. It's so ironic and actually sad. And she took the dye pistol and she sprayed Martinez with it, and she said to him, "If you go to the police, I will have proof, and I will say that you killed Susanna van der Linde." The 2 of them left the house, and Martinez said they drove in silence back to his home, where he hid the llama pistol, the knife and the hammer, and Marlene set off to her new beginning in Johannesburg. I couldn't find that she ever paid Martinez anything except the 1 rand and the bottle of gin. So this was her manipulating everybody around her. He actually just got horror and terror, and the same with the poor Susanna. I can't even imagine. It must have been terror that she experienced. Christiaan van der Linde tried to call his wife during the morning to see how she was doing. He was very aware that Marlene was, according to him, far on her way to Johannesburg, and he could not get a hold of his wife on the phone. So he asked their adult daughter Zelda, who worked at the hospital, to go and check on her mother. Now, this is something to me that is always so terrible, for a child to find their parent's body. And this is exactly what happened in this case. So at 1 o'clock, I assume it was probably her lunchtime, she went to the home, she looked through the windows, and she could see her mother lying. Obviously, a lot of terror in the house, blood everywhere, and she informed her father to come as soon as possible. She called the police, and again, this would have been extremely out of the ordinary in that neighborhood. Those kind of crimes didn't happen, especially not in a well-to-do neighborhood, and the police eventually arrived and cordoned off the area. The police said that Christiaan was immediately a suspect, not only because he's the husband, but apparently they asked him to come in and identify whether this was his wife. And this is in court documents, that he actually saw the body, and to see her face, he put his foot under her head, lifted up the head, said, "Yes, this is my wife," took his foot out and the head just fell back. So they said he was not showing any emotion. The emotion did not equal the environment that they saw. The police also, as they interviewed Christiaan, the neighbors, people at Christiaan's work, they became aware of the consistent complaints about the colored person lurking in the bushes and the person who came to her home. So they started looking for this person, but they didn't have an idea who he was. They started questioning the people at work. Everybody told them that Christiaan was a ladies' man. He had a lot of affairs, but he did love his wife. He did love his family. They then came upon the name of Marlene Lehnberg as one of Christiaan's very recent girlfriends. They then also learned that she had relocated to Johannesburg, and they contacted their counterparts at the Brixton police station. Brixton is a very well-known police station in South Africa, very busy. The detectives there have solved very infamous cases as well, and the detectives were dispatched to Marlene Lehnberg's uncle's home in Bryanston, where she was staying at that stage. On the 13th of November, so quite a while after the murder, the Brixton police station sent out Lieutenant Roland Fourie and Major van Aswegen to pick up Marlene and bring her to the police station for questioning. Lieutenant Roland Fourie said that during his part of the interview, he did not think that Marlene was capable of anything as murder, and that she was very forthcoming and open with her answers. She admitted that Dr. van der Linde was her lover, and that she heard about the murder of Susana, and she was actually expecting them. She agreed to go to the police station with them, where they started questioning her. It was Roland Fourie who started the questioning. He asked her if she knew a Rob Newman. She said that yes, of course, it's her friend, and he went on to ask her whether she asked him to kill someone for her, upon which Marlene laughed and said it was just a joke, she did not mean it. So Roland Fourie was still thinking that, no, this cannot be a murderer in front of me. And I'm not sure if this was a good cop, bad cop thing, but Roland Fourie had to step out, and Major van Aswegen took over the interview, and he asked her if she knew a limp-colored man. She looked very nervous when Major van Aswegen took over the interview, apparently, and she just blurted out that I paid him to kill Susana. Marlene was immediately arrested. She told them the identity of the colored man that they were looking for, Martinez Chuchu. She gave a confession, but it wasn't 100% true, because she said that she stayed in the car while Susana was murdered, which they later were able to prove that she lied about. Martinez was also arrested later that day, because obviously Marlene knew his whole address, everything about him. And they searched his home, where they found the llama pistol, the hammer and the knife, and also the scissors. The police asked him, why did you not get rid of the evidence? And he said, because it's very dangerous to throw away firearms. The trial of Marlene Lehnberg and Martinez Chuchu started in March of 1975, and it is said that people fought to get a seat in the courtroom. I have to say the newspaper articles I saw were all about how gorgeous Marlene is, how illicit this affair is, and to me it took away from the victim. I think that it took away from the brutality of the murder, it took away of the innocence of this victim, And it just glorified Marlene in a sense. It did vilify Martinez. I think we should never forget that Marlene was the instigator in this whole thing. The state called more than 30 witnesses, and it lasted 6 days. There were a judge and 2 assessors deciding on their fate, because we don't have a jury system in South Africa. The judge was Justice Dumont, and the assessors were A.J. van die Kerk and F. van Zyl Smith. And after all of the evidence were heard, Marlene and Martinez were found guilty of murder, and they were both sentenced to death. It was suggested, but never proved, that Christiaan somehow influenced Marlene to have Susanna murdered. My opinion is that Christiaan wanted his bread buttered on both sides. I don't think he wanted his wife dead. I think he didn't want to leave his wife. I mean, the fact that he tried to help her to protect herself, I really think that he was not involved in this. That's just my opinion, that's not fact. Marlene and Martinez's legal teams appealed their death penalties, and it was both of them, the death penalty was withdrawn, and Marlene was given 20 years imprisonment because of being the instigator, I think, and Martinez was given 15 years for the murder. Martinez was paroled in June 1986, and he became an evangelical preacher, and Marlene was released in December of 1986, both quite long before their sentences were completed, but it was said that both were model prisoners. It is said that after Marlene's release, she lived a very obscure, silent and solace life. And in October 2016, 5 days before her 60th birthday, she took her own life. She was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she decided that she is going to determine the day that she leaves this earth. Martinez died in a car accident in 1992 on the N7 in the Western Cape. Dr. Christiaan van der Linde moved to Krugersdorp after his wife's death to be close to her grave, where she was buried in a family graveyard, and it is said that he never married or was in a relationship ever again after that, because he was mourning the death of the love of his life. He has said in interviews that he regretted the day he laid eyes on Marlene Lehnberg. After the trial, this is also something I didn't know we have in South Africa, the Marlene Lehnberg law was passed, and this law actually subscribes that a criminal cannot benefit from their crimes. I know that other countries have this. I didn't know we have it, because apparently Marlene wanted to sell her story for monetary value. So she would have benefited from this, and that was the senseless acts of Marlene Lehnberg and Martinez Chuchu, which cost the life of an innocent victim, Susanna van der Linde. What do you think could have been done differently to save Susanna's life? Tell me in the comments. I want to thank you for watching this video with me. Please remember to stay suspicious, trust your instinct, look at the red flags, act upon the red flags. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.